Hello, Michelle here with From Surviving to Thriving. Today I'm talking about how to leave the female narcissist. And first, I want to thank all of you guys that sent me emails sharing a little bit of your story, your difficulties, what you were facing. And I really want to commend you for that because I know it's not a guy thing to kind of reach out for help and look for support. However, it's an important thing to do when you are in a relationship with a narcissist because it's not an ordinary relationship. It's not an ordinary breakup. There's nothing normal about it. And so you kind of need that support. So I want to thank you guys for doing that. And today we're going to read one particular email and kind of try to dissect it and see what kind of support we can help this person with. So the subtitle says, Almost 20 Years of Being Unhappy. It says, hello, I was just watching your video, Female Narcissist versus Male Narcissist, and I was hoping that maybe you could give some insight into my wife's behaviors so that maybe I can understand better what's happening. Just so you know, I am working toward leaving this relationship and I have come a long way. I'm just trying to get strong enough to really leave and not come back this time. I have left her 2 times in our 19-year marriage. As I grow stronger and get closer to leaving, she is sometimes starting to be nice to me, but I feel strongly that at this point it is far too late for this. I don't want to load you down with all the details, so I will try to keep it short. We are basically living like roommates, and every day I feel like part of me is dying inside. I wasted almost 20 years of my life trying to make this work, and now I regret it because along the way I lost who I am. As I write this note, I don't even know where my wife is. Not that I even want to know, but I say this because she keeps lying to me and keeping up with the facade about what she is doing. I have grown numb and no longer care where she is or what she is doing. I don't want her to answer to me. I just want my life back. Okay, here is what I don't understand. She tries to do everything for me, and I feel like it's her way of controlling me and undermining my confidence in myself. She also tries to make me feel bad about myself all the time and puts me down. And I see her do this to our 11-year-old all the time as well. I find that when I am around her, I start to feel like I am a flawed person or that there's something really wrong with me. My thoughts and feelings have never mattered to her at all. I don't have a say about anything. She wants to run the show. I sometimes don't know my role or why I'm here. I just feel like one of her kids or a roommate. When I was reading your tags, Women Who Are Never Wrong reminds me of her. Okay, back to why I'm writing you. Can women or do women try to control men by doing everything for them? And if this is the case, do you have any advice on how I can take my power back without being rude or hurting her? Thank you for your time and your videos are wonderful. P.S. Please tell me how I can buy your book. Okay, so there's a few things that kind of stood out that I wanted to address before getting to that last question. First, he mentions that you mentioned that you've left twice. And yet you've come back. And also that whenever you're leaving is when she begins to be nice. Narcissists normally, whether they're male or female, they choose people with huge hearts. People that are very forgiving, people that do not stay resentful for a long period of time, people that almost have too much kindness and goodness in them. Okay, so what happens is the narcissist is abusive to you for a long period of time, and you start to think that they're insulting you all the time. Just as you mentioned, you feel flawed, you feel not good enough. And so you start believing, and these thoughts, these words that she's saying become your inner voice now, and you're saying, wow, I can't do anything right, I suck, I'm awful, this is awful, why did I do this, I can't even make her happy, I can't do this. And you reach a point where you're like, shoot, then why am I even here? Why are we even together? If I'm that awful, why am I here? I should leave. The narcissist suddenly changes. I did a video recently called "The Narcissist Loves You Most When You Have One Foot Out the Door." So what happens is they are enjoying the narcissistic supply that they get by your pain. By feeling the power they have over you, makes them feel, look at me, look at how I can just crumble this person. And so all of a sudden you're going to take your power back by leaving, and they flip and they play to your kindness, your big-heartedness. And they show you everything you always wanted to see, that they are kind, they're sweet, that they care about the relationship, that they are sorry. And they begin to show you this. And a lot of people fall for it. A lot of women fall for it. A lot of men fall for it. They think, well, I'm leaving, but look at how she's acting. What if I'm throwing it all away? I've worked so hard for happiness. Now she's finally willing to be on the same page with me, and I'm going to leave? That doesn't make sense. And you get sucked back in, not realizing that her kindness is just a lure, like a fake worm on a fishing pole, and she's just pulling it slowly for you to come back in, but it's not real. And how do you know this? How can you gauge if that's real or not? Well, you left twice already. I imagine that you went back because of the facade that she showed you. How long did the facade last? How long did the kindness last? The love, the caring last? Was it only long enough for her to see that she got you again, that your walls were down and you were back in the relationship? If that's the case, then it really wasn't real. It was just a form of manipulation. So one of the ways to get stronger and be able to leave a toxic relationship is recognizing the manipulation tactics they use to keep you. And this is one of them. By suddenly being kind, by suddenly being nice, by changing, by acting different, all of a sudden your alarm goes up, and your alertness goes up, and you're thinking, wait a second, I don't want to throw it all away. What if she'll stay like this? Please note that if in the past your relationship has always been awful then good, whenever you're ready to give up, then awful again, it's not real. It's just a manipulation tactic. Okay, recognizing that will help you to have the strength to leave. Okay, you mentioned that you were there 20 years trying to make it work, and you lost who you were along the way. That is so trademark of a victim of narcissistic abuse. That's why the journal that I wrote was entitled, I Miss Me and I Want Me Back. We lose ourselves along the way. And why does this happen? Because we have spent so many years trying to please an unpleasable person that our own wants, desires, likes, we don't even think about them. We're just trying to please this person. When I was learning about narcissism and I was learning about emotional abuse, whether it was from a narcissism or just plain emotional abuse, I read a list of characteristics that were proof of emotional abuse. And one that I read, I remember reading it and thinking, I never would have thought that was an abusive tactic until I read it and analyzed it and thought about it, meditated on it. And it said, when somebody refuses to allow you to make them happy, that is a form of emotional abuse. I thought, what? And I thought about it, well, what were the results of my ex not allowing me to ever make him happy? But I was 16 years with him, 15 years married. How did that affect me? The fact that I never could make him happy? Well, my self-esteem was destroyed. I felt like a sad excuse for a woman that I could not make him happy. I felt inadequate, that no matter how hard I tried, it was never good enough. When you live in a situation where nothing is never good enough, you are eroding your self-esteem, your self-confidence. Little by little, it's chipping away. On top of that, you throw all of your energies, all of your thoughts, your strength, your time into trying to make this person happy. You're yanking your personality inside out until you don't even know who you are anymore. All you know is you want to make this person happy. So you stop living for you. And as you mentioned, you lose yourself. So that's a very common, very, very common trademark of a victim of a narcissistic abuse. Tiny piece of advice regarding that. Even though you're still in the relationship, you can actually start finding you again now. In fact, the stronger you are before you leave the narcissist, the less likely you are to go running back. Okay, so what can you do? Well, who were you before you were in this relationship? What were your passions? What were your hobbies? What were your values? What were your the things that you liked to invest your time and your energy in? How can you bring that, some of those things, obviously it's been 20 years, it's been a long time, you've changed through the years, so some of your likes and passions will be different, but not all of them. Just to give you some of my experiences, just to kind of open your eyes, I used to love to read, and with my narcissist, I wasn't allowed. There's a video I did where I actually had to hide my books, as if I was like cheating on him by reading a book. Because it made me happy, I wasn't allowed to do it. So I began to, one of the ways taking my power back, one of the ways getting back in touch with myself was reading. I began to read again. I began to enjoy something that I enjoyed before. Another thing that helped me was I used to be close to people. I wasn't an open book for the whole world, even though I kind of am now on YouTube, but I wasn't an open book to everyone, but I did have a few close friends, and I shared who I was. But for the whole 15 years of my marriage, I shared nothing personal about myself. So I started to change that. There were one or two friends I began with that I had trusted, that were there for me, and I began to talk about who I really was, about my pains. My life is not perfect. My life this is before I left. It's not perfect. This is a mirage. And I began to share who I was. Now, again, this is something you need to keep in mind. As you begin to do things for you, your ex is not going to like it. In fact, she's going to be outright furious because you're actually showing your own identity. And she doesn't want that. She wants you to simply be an extension of herself. But it's making you miserable. And no one should live like that. We are all our own personal, individual selves, and we are good enough just the way we are. And we should be allowed to feel that. Okay? So I remember one time, the one friend that I was starting to open up to, one day she came to my house and she was crying. She had a really rough day. Her kids were out of the house, so she was going through empty nest syndrome. And I made her a cup of tea, and we were talking, and I was just there for her. And my ex was texting me from upstairs in the bedroom, telling me to get rid of her. He hated anybody getting close to me. When my friend left, he came flying down those stairs in front of the children, screaming in my face that I ruined the night. I ruined everything, that I have no respect for him as the head of the house because I didn't listen to him by telling her to just leave. And what an awful person I was. What kind of person doesn't listen to her husband? Meanwhile, my friend had been crying, talking about suicide, and there was no way I was going to just say, okay, well, you know what? Please don't kill yourself tonight. I can't deal with that tonight because my husband wants my attention. I'll talk about it tomorrow. No, I had to deal with that. But I paid for it with my ex in the sense that he made me, he punished me for being friends with somebody very drastically. So prepare for that. Prepare for the fact that when you start to do the things you love, when you start to involve yourself in things that make you happy, prepare for the fact that your ex is not, or your spouse is not going to be happy. And that's okay. Most of us who wind up with narcissists, we hate conflict. We hate it. And that's what makes their power over us so strong and so easy to inflict, because we hate conflict. So we give in just to avoid conflict. But you know what? When you realize you're dealing with a narcissist, you're not giving in to conflict. You're giving in your right to be you. And that's wrong. So recognize that you have a right to be your own person, to have interests. You have a right to give yourself time to do things you like. If this person is going to act crazy, then that is their choice. They're going to try to make you feel responsible for their crazy behavior, but that's wrong. That is their choice as a way of handling your expressions of individuality. Okay? My advice to you is begin to get back in touch with yourself. Begin to think about things you like, you enjoy, and begin to do them, regardless of whether the other party likes it or not. Okay? That's just my advice, and anyone else that has any advice, please comment below. Okay? The next thing you mentioned, how you don't understand that she does everything for you. Okay? Now, sometimes we may think and mistake that for love and care. This person is doing everything for me. However, what are the intentions? What are the motives behind what she is doing? Does she do everything for you happy and say, look, I wanted to do this for you. How do you like it? Or what do you think about this? Or is it, I'm doing this for you because you're the scum of the earth. You never do anything right. And she's putting you down all the time. Because if that's the case, the person isn't doing everything for you because they love you, but as a way of eroding your self-esteem again. On top of that, when somebody does something for you, it kind of handicaps you. And I saw that in the case with my brother. My brother was married to a narcissist, and before he was married, he was a very independent person. He left home at 16. He was living with a friend. At 18, he was on his own. He moved from New York to Florida to help out with disaster relief. I think it was Hurricane Andrew. And he came down all by himself, lived on the streets till he could just help building houses, till he could get himself together, became a contractor, a plumber, a licensed plumber, was an amazing, strong person. He wound up with the woman he married, who was 10 years older than him. And she did everything for him. When he finally left that relationship, my brother, to this day, he's like a jellyfish. Like he has no backbone. He can't hold down a job. He can't function and deal with the responsibilities of life, because they were taken from him for so long, on top of the fact that he was degraded for so long. His self-esteem is non-existent. Now, what happens when a woman does that to a man? If he does wind up finding the strength to leave, he winds up going back. When he feels the pressures of life, things that he never had to deal with, he feels those pressures and he thinks, oh my goodness, this is awful. Okay, it was bad when I was with the narcissist, but man, I can't do this. And he winds up running back into the relationship. Or, in the case of my brother, he winds up running into the arms of someone else who does the same thing. So he is now with another woman who he's not really happy with. It's not a healthy relationship. But she pays his car bill, she pays his phone bill, she cooks, she irons his clothes, she does everything. He does nothing. I even asked him, I said, what do you give in the relationship? What's your part of the relationship? And he's like, well, I'm there. I said, is that enough for you? I mean, it's like you're a child. Doesn't she have a son already? And I wasn't trying to be mean, but that's my brother and I could talk to him like that. But yeah, so it winds up really crippling a man. For a woman, it's a lot easier for us to go on our own in the sense that we pretty much handle everything. The men work, even though the majority of us work, we also take care of the house, we take care of the bills, we take care of the cleaning, the cooking, the washing, we take care of everything. The kids assignments. We are the biggest multitaskers in the universe. And it's not easy for guys when they're on their own. All of a sudden they have to do all these things. It's overwhelming. So my advice to you is to start even before you leave. You say your goal is to leave and get out of the toxic relationship. I'm going to be dead honest. If you don't start getting stronger now while you're still in the relationship, there's a good chance you might wind up running back. So start figuring out what things you would like to, what responsibilities you would like to start taking on yourself. Write them down in a list. You don't have to show her the list, just so that you have it clear in your mind. Okay, I would like to do this. I would like to be able to do this for myself. I would like to be able to do this. Then let her know. This is not being mean or rude. This is called putting down a boundary. And everybody, we all need boundaries in life. Boundaries are healthy. Not having boundaries is mean and rude. Sometimes we have to kind of retrain our mind, because a lot of us, myself, I had to learn that that was okay, that I was allowed to say no. I was allowed to say, no, I'd like it this way. I'm allowed to do that. You have to convince yourself that you have a right to have control over your life, okay? So you present it to her in a kind way. Okay, so from now on, I decided that this is what I'm going to start doing this for myself and that for myself. I appreciate you've done it in the past, but I'm going to do that now. You don't ask permission. Remember, you're not her son. You're the man of the house. You let her know, I'm going to be doing that from now on. But thank you for having done it before. She's going to flip out. She's going to tell you how awful you do it and the scum of the earth you are. Do not defend yourself, because it's just going to wind up in a circle of an argument that gets nowhere. Okay? Simply state, use the broken record technique. I have another video on that. Simply state, that's my decision. You may not like it, but this is my personal decision. She's going to go on. That's my decision. That's my decision. Thank you. That's it. Just because she's angry and acting crazy doesn't mean you're being mean or rude. It means that she's not respecting your boundaries. Okay, so try to remember that. Because I think your view on mean and rude might be a little blurred because you've lived in a situation where you haven't been allowed to have boundaries for a very long time. So start getting yourself stronger now by taking on some of those responsibilities, okay? Taking them on. Also, when the narcissist acts nice, if she thinks you're leaving, don't get fooled. Be careful. Observe without absorbing. Even when she's nasty, when the narcissist is nasty, observe it without absorbing, in the sense, see her as saying, wow, that's a very mean way of acting. Instead of accepting that that's who you are, because it's not. And our tendency is to allow it to just stab us at the heart. But the fact of the matter is that this person is just trying to control you, and if they can say anything painful to get a rise out of you, that's all they want. Whether it's a lie, whether it's true, whatever. So start just watching her behavior and recognizing that just because she's accusing you of things, just because she's nasty, does not mean that that's who you are. I would also recommend looking up information on building your self-esteem and your child's, and helping your child to recognize that that is not normal. Speaking of your child, if you are contemplating leaving in the future, have you contemplated going for custody of your child? Because the longer a child is growing up with a parent that is a narcissist, either that child is going to become a narcissist, or they're going to become codependent, or they're going to marry a narcissist. So you're going to want to really have to think about that. I have a packet that I'm putting together. It's almost done. If it's not in the description box, but it's really to help people that are going to court against a narcissist, kind of a lot of information to as to what to expect, how to present information, that kind of a thing. If it's not, like I said, if it's not in the description box now, I will try to put it in by Sunday. I should be completely done. And then that can be made available for those that are going to court against a narcissist for custody or visitation or trying to lessen parenting time or whatnot. So stay tuned for that. And I do hope that this video answered some of your questions. Feel free to email me at any point, and if there's anything more we can help with, I would be happy to do so. And all of those that are watching, if you have any advice, this is all about helping each other along our road for healing. So please feel free to add your comments as well.